a lot of books. That's what we're going to talk about today. The books that go in and out. I was technically supposed to review this book, Normal Sucks, by Jonathan Mooney, and I don't have time to write the review and record and do everything else I have to do right now. So we're not going to review Normal Sucks. We're going to look at the books going in, the books going out of my library right now. And here's the stacks of books that have kind of come in. Before we do that, I want to let you know a few ways to support the channel. Number one is to become a patron at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale. Number two is to take one of my courses. You can find all the links below, or you can go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, and there that'll take you right off to Skillshare, and you can just take a course. Talk about the books going in, books going out, and why they are doing that. Start off with the two biggest ones. Right here. Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, some of them. I'm not sure which one. Oh, yeah. Brandon Sanderson one, Robert Jordan one. But they're actually from the same series, The Wheel of Time. It's huge. I've got a few over there. I've got, what, four? Three? This would make 5, I think. I don't know. It's like 14 books. And I enjoyed it. So I'm just collecting it as I find it. I don't actually plan on reading these necessarily right away. I'll read them at some point again, but I've actually been through the series a couple times already. So I just liked it, and I keep watching for them at the Bookman. Actually picked up, which one? I picked up A Memory of Light today, literally today, at the bookstore, the Bookman. What else we got? Grit by Angela Duckworth. I got this almost a year ago in Kelowna when I was away from birthday. And it's just a good book. It's been in my wife's library for a bit because she was reading it, and it just come back into mine. So I'm going to just mark it out that this is back in my library, and back is an option I can read now. It's about just being gritty in life. You know, lots of books will talk about grit and reference it, and that's what they're referencing right there. Next up, Life is Sport by Jonathan Fader, PhD. This is one of the ones my wife wanted. She's a sport coach. She coaches figure skating. And I thought, hey, that does sound interesting. So I grabbed it. I grabbed it for her. Did she read it? I'm not sure if she actually finished it. She got halfway through. Bunch of highlighting. I don't like that she highlights books, but bunch of highlighting. Life is Sport. It's about what top athletes can teach us about winning in life. Oh, what else? Returning to Teaching, Exploring Aboriginal Justice. So, another one, Stolen Continents. Right here, 2 of them. I think that in Canada and in the US, we need to just look at what we have done, how we have treated our First Nations, our Indigenous peoples poorly. And one of the ways to do that is to start reading the books by them, how they feel about colonialism. And I think I've had one person get really pissed at me, actually. Number one, I don't care. If you don't want to deal with your colonialism, then don't. And I thought about it afterwards because, I didn't steal land. I didn't break treaties necessarily, but I still benefit from it. And First Nations still have to deal with the ramifications of the Canadian government not living up to the treaties. So I figured as long as they have to deal with the ramifications of that, I should deal with the ramifications of colonialism myself. Should at least be wrestling it. I'll save this book for a second because it goes with something else. So yeah, that's why I'm going to keep reading stuff like that. Because as long as First Nations, as long as people of color have to deal with the blight of racism, I should have to deal with it too. Claire Hughes, Canadian athlete. She was I'm totally stealing off the back, Olympic medalist in the summer and the winter games, speed skating and cycling. Claire Hughes, just honestly looked like a cool story. I've heard of her. I don't know tons about her besides her medals, so I grabbed it because I just thought it would be interesting to read more about Canadian. There's a whole big Canadian section at the Bookman that I tried to spend more time in to get more Canadian stories. Next, Critical Path by R. Buckminster Fuller. I don't even know. It's about technology. Honestly, it just looked interesting. It's talking about Spaceship Earth as a crisis of the late 20th century. It just looked interesting. It's not something that just look interesting, and I forget about it sometimes. That just looked interesting from the Bookman. If you've read it, let me know. Is it interesting, or is it one I should just send back right away? Because that happens occasionally. Cynical Theories, How Activist Scholarship Made Everything About Race, Gender, Identity, and Why This Harms Everyone. So this kind of seemed like it was going to go with... what's the book? I don't know right now. Oh yeah, The Death of Expertise. This seemed like it'd be similar to The Death of Expertise. So I grabbed it. and I am kind of cautiously read this. I wonder if it falls into some of Jordan Peterson's things, and I don't agree with him. I know some people love him, but I don't know that I agree with him. And I do believe that we need to have hard discussions about freedom of speech, and that we do need to allow freedom of speech. And that it's really easy for white people to be like, you're being whiny. Why should I be able to talk about whatever I want to talk about? So I just thought this one would inform me more and give me maybe a slightly alternative narrative. Although I'm going to read that with caution because I don't want to be like, let's stop talking about this. Stop whining, people. Reading the Brain. One of my next courses I want to do on how to read a book. Yeah, so this just looked like a good one to go with that course, Reading in the Brain. It'll be on my to read soon-ish list so that I can just read it. Yeah, so I can read it. And incorporate it into my course. I'm actually going to put this on at a different stack because it's going to go in with how to read a book. Oh, two kind of came up from work. So I have a new job. I am the web director at a company called Markentem. We deal specifically with sites in the elder care community. And these are two of them that we talked about in our book club. We'll be reading. I'll be seeing you. But this was another one. Elderhood was another one I recommended. So this is, again, both in the just reimagining what the aging in life is. And this is a memoir about aging. And they both look good. So I bought them both right away, even though we hadn't voted. But we voted for, I'll be reading this next month in April for our book club at work, at school, I was going to say, at work. I'll be reading that for sure. And then this one I also picked up today because it just looked interesting. Earth is Hiring, the new way to live, lead, earn, give for millennials and everyone who gives a, SHIT. And again, it just looked interesting as I was there about how to live in a more holistic way that doesn't just say me, and lets you live a little bit more in life. Finally, Mr. Newport, because Mr. Newport doesn't look like I even scanned this book. I'll have to make sure I scan it into my library. I pre-ordered this from the bookstore. It came in. I'll get to that at some point, although it might be a little bit before I get to The World Without Email by Mr. Newport. I think this means I own all of his, we'll say, productivity-ish books. So yeah, that'll be interesting when it gets up. Those are the books that are coming into my library. What's going out? It's actually a small collection, although I'm not sure yet. Once I do the review, I'll know about Normal Sucks. Some of the ones that are going out, George Lucas, A Life. It was good. My wife got this for me for Christmas 2 years ago, and I read it, and I enjoyed it, but I'm just not going to read it again, so it's going to go back. I like Star Wars, George Lucas is cool and all, but whatever. I won't read it again. Little Bets, I reviewed this recently. I'll link it up above. It's just not something I'm going to read again, so it's going back. It's fine. It's about, she was just talking about this today with the Funny Carpenter, local YouTuber as well. I'll link to his channel below. It's interesting in that it talks about how to try out little things. So try out YouTube videos to see what sticks, and then maybe try out a course on, say, Skillshare. And I can't bring an audience big enough yet to my own course, so I tried on Skillshare because they can bring the audience. And just, kind of leveling up. At some point, I'll probably do my own courses. And that's kind of taking little bets instead of going all in, which I've totally gone all in before, and it did not work well. Finally, Scratch. I reviewed this a while ago. It's kind of a skip. It's not bad. It's not terrible. But it's also not, I'm never going to read this again. It was just fine. It was adequate. That's all I got for it. It was adequate. And so it's going to go back. And then I think I said in my last Books Out video, Roald Dahl's Ghost Stories. My daughter really wanted it, so I was going to let her read it. And it's come to a couple months, like 4 weeks later. She hasn't read it. She just kind of read a little bit and stopped. So it's going to go back as well. I'm going to go wrestle that out of her little hands. And take it back because she's not going to read it. And I'm not going to read it. Because it was just a series of stories that Roald Dahl curated. And that's not what I was expecting or wanted. That's it. Those are the books going in, books going out. Anything sounded interesting, let me know. If you had read Critical Path. Yeah, Critical Path. Let me know if it was worthwhile. Because that's the biggest one that I just don't remember anything about. I just looked at it in the stack today and was like, oh, what was that book about? I don't know. That's it. Have a good one. If you liked the videos, thumbs up below. If you loved it, subscribe, hit the bell. And YouTube will let you know something happened. If you want to support the channel, you can go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, which will take you up to Skillshare. You can find one of my courses. They're actually all linked below if you want to go directly to one, or you can become a patron at patreon.com/CurtisMchale. Have an awesome day.